Okay, thank you, Paul, and Alan, and everyone for coming. It's a great pleasure to be here. This is indeed an historic time for the internet. As Kurt said, there's 270 odd TLDs on the internet today, and there'll be thousands in the future. And this is really the first wave. So I'm glad that there's a lot of interest in this. What I wanted to do this morning is talk a little bit about the fact that this is not the first round of new TLDs that ICANN has approved and that have launched. So I wanted to talk a little bit, and I guess I tell you when to change the slide. Is that how this is going to work? Okay, so you can hit the slide.
Or maybe, Roland, you just touch your nose like this and
then maybe I can wiggle my nose.
Perfect.
Okay. So new TLD volume today. There are about 210 million second-level registrations on the internet today. That's the whole entire TLD market. Of that, there have been 15 TLDs launched since 2000, when ICANN hosted the first round, and Info launched back in 2001, and then a series of other TLDs have launched since then. And over that period of time, that 11-year period, new TLDs have attracted about 16 million registrations. And this slide shows the list, and it shows the very steady volume progress that you've seen in total sales of new TLDs, or total volume actually of new TLDs. So if you take a look at the next slide, the new TLD share of the entire business, it's been very steady at about 7% of the entire business. So the reason I show this to all the prospects that talk to Afilias is there are a number of folks who think they're going to sell 1 million names out of the box and make tons of money because this is just a license to print money. But it's not as easy as that. Certainly the brands, which is the subject of this panel, have a real reason for being and are highly likely to be successful. Some of the more generic things that we'll see on the market have a much harder row to hoe. And as you look at the next slide, I'll show you the volume by each of the 15 new TLDs that have launched since 2000. So the top one is .info, that's nearing 8 million names now. .eu launched, that's about 3 million names. Biz launched, that's about 2 million names. Mobi. So the top four really assume most of the business, or most of the sales business. Not that some of these others aren't successful, but most of the actual sales business that's happened. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the bottom 11 with ME, which was a new country code that launched when Montenegro became a country. Then there's Tel, Name, .Asia, Travel, Pro, and then way down at the bottom here there are a number of smaller ones: Aero, Cat, Co-op, Jobs, and Museum. Now, some of you may have never heard of those TLDs. And that would not be unusual because they don't get a lot of use on the internet. That's not to mean some of them aren't very successful. The CAT domain, which is for Catalan language speakers in Spain, is considered to be very successful. It's a great tight community. It's got great content directly related to that. It's got very controlled eligibility procedures, and it's been very successful for them. But not all of them have generated lots of volume. So if you look at the next slide and you look at the share, whose systems are these new TLDs running through? About 60% of all the volume of new TLDs launched since 2000 are running through Afilias systems now. Our company was basically founded to launch new TLDs. We were the first one out of the box back in 2001, launching .info, and that has about 8 million names in it. And we have a long history of both applying for and successfully helping others to launch new TLDs. Newstar's done pretty well too. They're clearly number 2. And then, I mean, these are almost inverse to the total share of the all business. But when you look at new TLDs, there aren't really many other real players here. So by way of introduction to Afilias on the next slide, just so you know who we are, we're an Irish limited company. You probably could have told that from my accent. But we have offices in Philadelphia. We have a big data center, and most of our operations are in Toronto, actually. And we have a company in New Delhi because we support the .in TLD for the Indian government. We support 15 different TLDs now. And we have about 20 million names under management. So in terms of the overall market share, that's about a 10% market share in total. We support 5 generic and sponsored TLDs. These TLDs that you see here, Info, Org, Mobi, Asia, and Aero, are all operating today under ICANN contracts. Afilias manages the Info and Mobi TLDs, and other people manage the .org TLD, for example, is managed by PIR, part of ISOC. We do the back-end work for them, the technical work. Asia is run by, see Edmund Chung is here, the CEO of .Asia. They're a Hong Kong organization, so we work for Edmund on .Asia, and .Aero is run by CETA in Geneva, and we operate that under a technical services contract. We also operate 10 country codes, and as you can see here, there are 5 of these that are brand new TLDs to the DNS, including .ME. Now, I didn't count India here as a new TLD because it's really a repurposed, not a repurposed, but a relaunched country code TLD that's been in the root since the very beginning, but now has pretty close to 1 million names in it. So where do we play on the next slide? In the space, there are registrants who are people who actually buy names and use them for sites. There are registrars in this space. That's companies like GoDaddy, which most people are familiar with. And then there are registries and registry operators, which is really sort of the manufacturing level. And that's where Afilias plays. I don't think any of you ever heard of Afilias in the past. Maybe some of the industry people here did. But we operate down at the plumbing level, and we turn the cranks and make sure everything works from a DNS standpoint and from a registry database standpoint. We provide a global network, which is shown on the next slide. We have operations all over the planet, as you would expect a provider to have that's supporting a top-level domain on the internet. And the next slide describes how we can help you. We provide registry services, which is really a turnkey operation. You really shouldn't be building your own registry system if you can possibly avoid it. We have complete DNS that supports 15 TLDs today. We've had 10 years of experience meeting ICANN's requirements, both in the application for new TLDs and in the subsequent supporting of the TLDs. Because once your new TLD gets approved, you're going to have to run the thing. And ICANN has a series of requirements that are tough to meet. So we'll handle questions 23 through 44 in the guidebook with some input from you, but we'll basically answer all of those questions for you, because I'm sure as you've looked at those technical questions, you've said, what do they mean by this? Well, we know what they mean, we know the answer, and we'll provide it to you. And we'll do the pre-delegation technical testing. Once you get through the evaluation stage, you're going to be expected to actually have a system that works, that can be tested, and ICANN will be doing some of that testing, and you can be sure it'll work if you're working with somebody who actually has experience doing it. So we have new TLD experience that can help you qualify, launch, and run your TLD with the technology. If it's important for you to have links to the registrars, we're linked to all the world's top registrars. We have a lot of experience with Sunrise and LandRush and the other arcane process-related launch things that you need to do successfully for a new TLD. So what advice would I give you for applicants having now spent 10 years in this business? That's the last slide. And it's really pretty simple. Start now. There's barely enough time to get real answers to these 50 questions, even if you start now. And particularly if you're doing a brand TLD and you have a large company, getting the team together and getting everybody's schedule put together and getting agreement on the strategy and all of that is going to take time. I've spent a lot of time in big companies myself, and I know that this doesn't happen in 10 minutes and it doesn't happen by one person. So January 12th is basically tomorrow on that kind of a time frame. I would also advise you to team up with an experienced player. Don't build your own registry system, as I said before. I've talked to people who have excellent technology, and some of them are thinking about building their own system. It's pretty specialized technology, and why would you make your own electricity? You wouldn't do that. And registry systems are similar to that conceptually. So insist on a proven track record with ICANN new TLDs. I think as Paul said earlier, there are a lot of people that are out and about now offering advice on how to do this. And I would advise you to insist on somebody who actually has experience doing this, who actually has a track record doing this, and who can prove to you that they know what they're doing. Be sure your team has ICANN GTLD experience. Running a country code is not the same thing as running a GTLD. Working with ICANN is not the same as working with like the Belizean government. I can tell you for certain. and find a team that fits in with yours. Every company here, every brand, every team is going to have its own personality. You need to find a team that's going to fit in with yours. The only way you'll find that out about Afilias is if you talk to us. And that's my last piece of advice is please talk to me. So, thank you, Paul.